Alright, hello and welcome to another edition of the Real Guy Garage. We're here at home in my shop here at home. Um, it's my 73 Fury 1, which is a fairly extensive restoration that I've been picking away at when time allows for the last few years. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. So what we have here is a 1978 Z28 Camaro. It has an LM1 350 and a T10 4-speed. Now in 78, when you ordered a Z28 Camaro with the 350 4-speed, you automatically got a 373 Positrack rear end in it. Of course, the Z28 had the thick sway bars front and rear. It had a different ratio steering box. It had different ratio coil springs. It was a fairly good handling car for its time, in all honesty. So this one's my dad's car, and we found this car 3 years ago now, and of all places, at a yard sale. The gentleman happened to have the garage door open, and the car was there in the garage. And he mentioned that he might be interested in selling it. So I looked it over and ended up we made a deal with him, and Dad got a car. Now my dad was never overly a huge car guy, admittedly. However, my grandfather was very, very mechanically inclined, especially with cars and machinery. And I guess I sort of got that from him. However, in the time that I've been, well, I don't know, the time I was a teen and now an adult, I can honestly say that my dad's definitely come around to cars. And it's definitely been something we've been able to bond over, which is pretty cool, you know. But anyway, back to the car. So this is not its original color or paint. I do have photos somewhere of this car prior to being painted. It was painted around 96 or 97. And honestly, the paint's held up really great. I mean, it's dirty and crappy right now because of the fact we just got it out of the barn yesterday. So it hasn't been cleaned or touched since last October. However, the paint is still pretty good. It was a good quality job and a fairly expensive job in 96, 97. The only sheet metal that had to be replaced were the quarter panels, just the lower section behind the back tires, because it had a couple of bubbles and pinholes there. They did change the color. This car is originally the dark brown. They changed the color fairly well. They did do the jams. However, there's a few things that I personally would have painted as well that they didn't, but that's another story altogether. They did a pretty good job. Overall, I mean, it's a great car. It's a 3-owner Ontario car, sold new in Barrie. We have the build sheet and the window sticker for it. And overall, it really is truly in great condition. I mean, it runs pretty good. It needs some work, but we'll cover that in a bit. One thing I do have to do is repaint the trim around the back window. That should be black. I'd like to replace the Z28 emblems that are on both the fuel filler door and the grille, just because they're discolored from age. I put new tires on it a few years ago. I mean, overall, interior's in really great shape. There's some discoloration of the pillar trims and stuff. I want to re-dye those. Somebody has put a set of seat covers on. I believe the prior owner, he had the car almost 20 years. He did a fair bit to it. In terms of performance, I believe the drivetrain's been rebuilt. That would be my best guess. I know the motor was rebuilt, and I know the transmission's been out of it done. I'm assuming the rear end's been rebuilt at some point as well, just because it looks fairly fresh inside. So it's an LM1 350, which is loosely based on the Corvette 350, but I hate when people say, oh, it's got a Corvette 350. It's loosely based on it. That's what GM did. They borrowed parts from here or there to build what they could. Let's face it, the mid to late 70s were not exactly a high performance point in time. However, for the time, this pretty much was one of your top performers. You know, nice light car, 350, 4-speed, 373 gear. Like that's pretty potent. So the motor was rebuilt around 91, 92. And, you know, it's got the typical 350 stuff done to it. I don't know if they did anything with the heads. I'll find out here shortly. But it had a set of Edelbrock valve covers on it and stuff. I found these ones in a junkyard and I redid them. For my dad, I bought a set of those Proform breathers with the bow ties on them. They're pretty cool and not overly expensive. But I just wanted to put something different on it because, I mean, everybody and their brother's got the Edelbrock valve covers that were on this with the big tall breathers, and it's got a set of hooker long tubes on it, and it's got an older Edelbrock. I can't think of the name at the moment, but it was the successor to the Torquer intake. That's essentially what it is, or it might actually be a Scorpion intake on this one now that I'm looking at it closer. Oh yeah, it is too. Yeah, it's got an Edelbrock Scorpion intake on it. It's got a Holly carb. They put an Excel coil, and I mean, I tuned it up last year and replaced a lot of the stuff with a little better quality parts, and you know, that made it run a bit better. Did a few adjustments, nothing huge. But its current dire need is rear main. It is leaking so bad it's not even funny. And this is something that's gotten progressively worse since we've had the car. I mean, I had it sitting in the driveway here for about 10 minutes and I got a good sized puddle. So that's our current need, because right now I'm going to end up having to put a clutch in it and probably have the flywheel resurfaced, just due to the fact that it's so oil soaked that the engagement is absolutely horrible, to the point where I actually trailered the car home. Other than that, I mean, I'm going to go through and reseal the motor. While the motor's out of the car, I'm going to reseal the transmission, because it's got a few oil leaks as well. Mostly just from the side inspection cover and everything, but that's not a big deal. Dad also wants me to go through and sort of clean up everything under the hood as well, just so it's a little more show friendly. You know, I'll detail the master, clean it all up. This is one of the parts I'm talking about. When they painted the car, they didn't do the best job. You can see the original brown all the way along the cowl. You know, they did change the color on the hood. They did do the inner parts of the fenders. They did, you know, they did in the doors and everything. But it's just little things like that that bug me, that probably wouldn't bug 90% of people. So we're going to go ahead and do some of that. Reseal the motor, reseal the trans, new clutch. Probably clean up and replace a lot of stuff. It's going to get a new set of hoses for sure. Just because the 1991 J.C. Whitney Jigs catalog red heater hoses are kind of, well, they're dated. I'm looking into possibly getting the header ceramic coated as well, just so they look a little nicer and so it'll hold up over time. And as I said, the front badge, like I put a new upper and lower grille in the car last year or the year before because it was cracked. But the badge looks like crap now, and I want to replace the screws on the bezels because I did put new bezels on. And you know, even when a car's done, it's not done. Like, I'd like to replace some of the rubbers and stuff around the windows just because they're all aged. But as you can see, like when they did the car, they did do a good job. I'm not gonna say they didn't. It's just little things, right? All the stickers are still on the doors and stuff. They just masked over them. But like I said, all the rubbers and stuff are so deteriorated in the car that it's something I'd really, really, really like to deal with. I'd like to possibly at least fix some of the little door panel issues and stuff. Let's grab the key out of it here. Because overall, like I say, she's certainly a good looking car. I mean, even up in behind the taillights, they didn't paint behind the taillights. And oh, this is what kills me here. So they painted all inside the trunk jamb, painted the bottom of the trunk lid, did not paint the taillight panel. So all this is the original paint, which it's hard to get a good picture here or video, but original space saver still in here, and trunk's full of crap right now, but that's nothing to be surprised about. Now the other thing I'd like to get for the car is a new stripe kit. Again, they're 20 plus years old and they're all starting to peel at the edges and stuff, and it annoys me probably more than it should. I want to get new center caps for it because they're all starting to peel. Shows 73 59, but I think it's 173 or something around that. But it's pretty neat. Like when you first turn the key on, fasten seatbelt lights. Of course it doesn't want to do it now. Okay, well, it normally comes on. You can see the brake lights on. I had it running earlier, otherwise I would have had to pull the choke and pump it, but I would say it's got a cam in it. The original rope-wrapped steering wheel is still under there. It's just a pain in the ass to keep clean, especially when your hands look like mine. But I mean, it's got pretty good oil pressure at idle, just under 60 pounds, and somebody did change the shifter. It's got a Hirsch short throw, which is a complete pain in the ass and does not work properly on this car because of the way the reverse is on this. Every time you go into reverse, it tries to move the center console. So that's on my hit list. I'm either gonna have to bend it or do something with the linkage. But you can see they're starting to peel around the edges and stuff, so that I'd like to deal with that too. It's just a lot of little stuff, but it's the little stuff that makes the big difference. So, more on that later. Till then,